I just want to inspire you to grow your own food, bring your friends and your families into the kitchen, and make something from scratch. Hi, my name is Latasha Green, and today we are making my version of shepherd's pie. First, we gotta peel our potatoes. You can really put anything you want into a shepherd's pie, and that's why I love it so much, because it's easy to like clean out my fridge of like any extra vegetables that I have. I think the sweet potato gives it a great flavor, and then I also just include like whatever vegetables I have on hand, and so we'll just be pulling like what is ready in the garden. And then with the protein, like you can do whatever you have in your freezer: ground beef, ground pork, ground chicken, ground turkey. Today we're doing ground turkey, which makes it healthy because we're skinny. My mother's side of the family is Caribbean, and I grew up with my grandma. Her oldest sister lived in New York City, and when I was a kid, I would go there for the summers. And my aunt, she owned her house in the backyard. When you would step out, there was only maybe like 3 feet of walkway up against the house, and then the rest of it was vegetable garden. Like those are some of my fondest childhood memories of like spending time in my aunt's garden. And she passed away when I was quite young, but I keep her spirit alive by gardening. I feel very close to her and connected to her when I do. And then the fact that I get to like cook with the food reminds me of my grandma. And I just feel so connected to the women in my family. For me, making shepherd's pie for you guys today is just a culmination of like the love of food and growing food that I learned from the women in my family, and building on the relationship I have with my community and gardening today. Now we're gonna cut up the potatoes into equal sizes so that we can boil them. I have 4 large sweet potatoes. All right, now that we have our hot water, we're gonna salt it like the ocean. I learned that from Gordon Ramsay on TV, not like in person. I'm gonna let the sweet potatoes boil for about 20 to 25 minutes. I just want them to be fork tender so that they are easy to mash. In the meantime, let's go outside to the garden and grab some more veggies and herbs. Let's get some celery. I'm thinking we only need maybe like 2 stalks. All right, are we ready to pull the first carrot of the season? Oh, she's little. We'll put her in there for the plot, but I have more I got from the store. Got some peas. We love a good collard green. You can take the girl out the South, but you can't take the South out the girl. I did accidentally knock this pepper off, so I guess I have to eat it now. Let's go to the herb bed and get some herbs. I'm gonna grab some rosemary, oregano, and of course thyme. Thyme is the herb of my people, okay? Caribbeans eat, breathe, and sleep thyme. Here's our bounty: some greens, some veggies, and some herbs. And this is gonna add so much love and flavor to the dish. Let us start preparing the filling. I'm gonna chop up half an onion and also a few cloves of garlic, which I forgot to mention the garlic, but who's cooking without garlic, y'all? About maybe 2 to 3 tablespoons of olive oil into my cast iron. I like to do a tiny dice on the veggies, just so they're nice and bite-sized inside the pie. So for my day job, I make art for a living. I'm a commercial illustrator and a muralist and a little bit of a designer. And I've always leaned into creativity. Any type of creativity where I can make something from scratch or express myself in some way, like, I'm down. And cooking is an art. You're creating something from scratch. You're using your imagination and your palette to blend together flavors and colors and textures that will hopefully be really delicious at the end. So cooking just naturally was a part of just my creative identity. It's everyone's birthright to be creative. However that looks to you, if the way you dress, the way you do your hair, the way you speak, however you want to identify, however you express yourself is creative. All right, let's toss the turkey into the pan, and we're just gonna get it browned up and then remove it. I'm of course gonna add a little bit of salt and pepper. While that browns, I'm gonna keep chopping up my veggies. Our little garden carrot, it looks like a mama holding a baby on her hip, but we're gonna emancipate her. I have a grocery store carrot to add to this. Now that the ground turkey is nice and browned, I'm gonna take it out and saute the vegetables. Add a little bit of butter, like a tablespoon. Then I'm gonna pop in the onion, let the onion sweat for a little bit. All right, I think it's time we turn on the oven and get that preheating. Just at 350. The onions look good. I'm gonna add the carrots. And then I'm gonna add my fennel seed. These are fennel seeds I actually harvested from my garden from my fennel from last year. Got our celery stalks. I'm gonna take off the tops. I'm just gonna give the snap peas a rough chop. Gonna rip the stalks off of these collards and then give those also a rough chop, like into kind of a ribbon, and pop them in. So shepherd's pie, I think, is one of the first like kind of fancier dishes I ever made for my husband back when we were dating, like over a decade ago. It came out really good. It was really yummy. And it obviously became kind of a staple. But I do feel like that was kind of like a, ooh, I'm gonna marry this girl type of moment for us. Because he was like super impressed with the dish. And I felt very impressive too, because I nailed a recipe that I had never cooked before. And now it's just like one of those like comfort meals that kind of reminds me of like the early days in our relationship. I cherish that memory, and I always think about those earlier days when I make it. I'm gonna quickly dice up this bell pepper. I'm gonna use half of it. Garlic in. I'm gonna cut 10 or 12 cherry tomatoes in half and pop them in. I'm gonna add my meat back into the pan. And then I'm gonna add maybe like 2 or 3 dashes of Worcestershire sauce and 2 or 3 dashes of soy sauce for the umami. I'm gonna get some chicken broth, and I'm gonna add about half a cup. I have some onion powder and some garlic powder, and I'm gonna do 2 teaspoons, and also 1 teaspoon of curry. While this simmers down, we're gonna mash up the sweet potato. So I'm gonna put 4 tablespoons of butter and about maybe a third a cup of milk to start. Wow, nailed it. Good old handy dandy potato masher. All right, this is a wild card. I'm gonna put a little bit of shredded cheese in these potatoes. This is our consistency, just nice and smashed. Now we're gonna assemble. I'm gonna give it a taste. And I'm just gonna dump all of my sweet potato mash onto my filling. Wow, okay. This was actually the perfect amount of potatoes. Boom, perf. I did not add the herbs. But it's okay. We're just gonna put the herbs on top, and it'll be like a beautiful herb crust on top, and it's gonna be awesome. So we'll take some of the garden rosemary, thyme, and oregano. I'm gonna give them a rough chop and sprinkle it on top. You gotta adapt. And that's what we're doing here with these herbs. Take my spatula and just kind of mix this in a little bit into the potatoes and top it off. Gorge. All right, now we're gonna pop it in the oven for 30 minutes. This looks fantastic. Smells so good. And now I'm ready to try it, okay? The torture is over. Nice little serving. Curly leaf parsley for the aesthetic. Delish. Okay, obviously you need to get a little bit of everything. It's the law. It's gonna do it every time. You can taste all of the veggies, the fresh flavors from the garden. That fennel seed adds so much flavor to the turkey. This dish just reminds me of home. So comforting, so cozy, so filling. And at the end of the day, this is a work of art.